Yara Jinde.
Nistagute.
She Tante Baka Hunsia.
She Madison uses Hunsia.
And welcome back to another episode of Small Town Res Girls. We have a special guest.
Till the vein black out, my war paint stay out. Till veins drain out, my aim take brains out. Google me, #1 you will see.
Starred in movies like Mortal Kombat 2 and Indian in the Cupboard.
Who are you?
Hawaii. Little bit.
You are so real.
I am. Yes. Are you? Who are you?
Wouldn't you like to know? So you're Raiden's prodigy. I've seen better. Don't sweat it. I've seen worse too.
So pray, because it truly indeed is everything that you need. It's where you will begin to find your purpose, what you've been put here on this earth to do. And it will then become what it is that sustains you as you move forward on that trail, that path, that journey to do what it is you've been put here on this earth to do.
My name is Gary Litefoot Davis. I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. I don't think they even say in Oklahoma anymore because they're like, Oklahoma. They're just, no Oklahoma, just Cherokee Nation. And it's a privilege to be here with you guys.
Thank you for being here.
I think this is the second episode, right?
Yes.
I won't even be mad I wasn't the first. But second is still good. Second is the first place loser. So I'm happy with being the first place loser. I'm still first somehow.
Yes. So welcome back to the Mescalero Apache Reservation. I understand you've been here before. Can you tell us a little bit about your previous experiences?
Well, it's been so long ago that I'm constantly being reminded through this evening of things that I did hear the last time that I was here. And one of them was proposed to my then girlfriend and ask her to marry me. Apparently I did that right in the community center.
That's awesome.
And it was wonderful. And I don't believe the beautiful facility that is here now was even in existence then. It was the original. It was the OG lodge.
Yes.
And that's what I remember. And at the end of the day, it was just great. I mean, I've always just really appreciated the support. And though, I haven't been able to be back as many times over the years as I would like, it's great to be back. It's great to have those kind of memories. And it's great that when you were here, you had enough impact decades ago that people still remember. And I think that means a whole lot to me, and I'm very grateful for that. And I've always said that those kinds of things are the things that mean more to me than an award or
Exactly.
anything. Did it matter to the people?
Yes. And we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you.
So one of our people in the community.
Ooh, you're digging in I don't even know, that's not the crates.
past.
That's the digging in the...
Yes. Miss Felicia, she wanted us to show you that she was getting these in the mail before.
I just want to say
internet.
congratulations,
Before the
Felicia,
internet.
for keeping these so pristine over the years.
Yes.
Because can you read the postmark on that? What year that was? That has to be 98.
Where does it say that right here?
Yeah.
I just see 19.
I can't.
So it was in the 1900s.
Yeah.
We know that. We don't know when it was. Sometime in the 1900s, I put this together. And let me tell you about this. This would have been me at Kinko's all goddamn night long, pasting pieces of things I would print out onto a sheet and then making a master and then copying it to a page over and over again. And these are pains that nobody today would ever even think to contemplate in putting together something like this, nor would they mail this out.
Right.
Exactly.
This would be an email. And, I just was very dialed into the fact that, over the years we would gather people's email, or not email addresses, we would gather their addresses. And we knew that we wanted to stay in touch with people. And I would send out, I think this says right here, footnotes special edition. So even though that this is about this, I would send out my newsletter every month, and it would be a footnotes. So in addition to touring, in addition to doing everything else, in addition to making music, I would go write one of these and then stay up all night at Kinko's and this was before it was FedEx Kinko's. It was just plain old Kinko's. Because it was a 24-hour a day spot, and I would go after I did all my other stuff, write it, and then put it together, and then mail it. Literally,
oh my goodness.
We would go buy the postage and literally slap these in there because it was a way for us to keep the motivation going. It was a way for us to keep in touch with our community. And it's what we had to do back in those days because, again, it wasn't until I was like halfway through the biggest tour that I ever did that Facebook even came around. So I was kind of on the end of my run of touring year after year after year after year, hundreds of communities a year, right around the time that social media was starting. So, I totally missed it. Just totally missed the whole friggin' plane, boat, train, social media, all of it. Missed me, or I missed it. But it would have sure made stuff like this much easier.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you wanted to keep in touch with your fans.
Yeah.
That's
It was everything to me. That's why I started doing it. And I think people have gotten it wrong so much because, again, maybe there was no social media and you couldn't really tell your story and you couldn't really communicate whenever you wanted to just by going live.
Yeah.
There was no live.
Yep.
And even making a video back then was a whole other thing. There was no phones that could make a video. It was like broadcast cameras that cost, even the cheapest ones would be like $150,000 or $200,000, and we didn't have that kind of money.
Oh my goodness.
And then if you make it, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah,
walk
exactly.
around with a VHS and a TV and go,
Showing
look at
people
my
in the
video.
streets.
It's heavy, please watch it. So it is, it sounds crazy, but there really was us kind of trying to think through how can we stay connected with the community, because we would be out there constantly and I would feel the heaviness and the joy, not all negative, but I would feel everything. And I wanted to make sure that people were, at least in my own little contribution, getting something back for inspiration or something.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That is so amazing.
So did you grow up on a reservation, and how was it similar or different to Mescalero?
I grew up in Oklahoma, and by God, they didn't start calling those places reservations till here about a few years ago.
Okay.
I don't know how I just slipped into my Oklahoma.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is going to be the most watched podcast
No
ever.
judgment.
But yeah, no, my family grew up in northeast Oklahoma, which is Cherokee country. And, of course, other tribes bridged that boundary. But we didn't really know our land in a way that was sort of in that way to say it. My family called our Indian land the farm, because as long as we had it, that's just where everybody lived. And so there was cattle out there. There was a pond out there. People would go fish out there. We'd go pick wild onions out there. There would be, everybody would have a garden, and everybody would sort of like sustain themselves with their own vegetables and everything. And I remember it was always a place for my grandfather to go be around his brothers. And it was something that, unfortunately, I hate to say it today, but because they have all passed away, that doesn't exist anymore. So it's part of our family legacy that I know in my mind, and my sons don't know it. Because my oldest a little bit, because some of them were still alive then, but it's something that when I think about my experience in Oklahoma, it really all dials back to that area. And there was Tahlequah, where the tribe is located. wasn't called a reservation. It wasn't called the Cherokee Reservation. I didn't start to see those signs on the highway until, within the last, maybe it's been a decade, maybe it's been a little over a decade, but those weren't up when I was growing up. It didn't say entering the Osage Reservation.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, I grew up between Tulsa, Oklahoma and Claremore, Oklahoma, which is where, one of the greatest Cherokees ever to live. Not me, but Will Rogers, who was a very, very famous Cherokee person early on, and died up in Alaska during a plane trip up there with another very famous person, and just a great actor. I guess probably the first Cherokee in Hollywood, I would have to say. I don't know of anybody else that would have done that before him, but yeah, he grew up in Claremore, outside of Claremore.
That's amazing.
So I understand you've been a rapper for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Even before I was born.
Yes.
I hear you
and that's quite some time.
I heard you
Longer than I've been alive.
I heard you did a concert at our community center. Fizzo
Yes.
was just telling us the story about how he was 11 years old
and I was only like 14 at the time.
Yeah, and it was his
first concert.
I wasn't 14. I don't think people sometimes really grasp how groundbreaking it was to bring what I put together in the way of hip hop out to the community, because we were very self-contained. I pulled all of my own sound equipment to get the sound that I wanted, to do the show that I wanted to do, and we would set it out the way that I envisioned it being performed. We had fog machines, we had lights, we had, just everything the way that I envisioned it in my head that I wanted to do for the community. And I remember, I'll never forget this. There was a grandma right in the front, and in those days, which is probably much different than the experience that a lot of acts that come to the reservation now probably don't. Maybe they do, because I know our people sometimes are shy. Back in the day, man, it was almost like the kids would not get out of their seat because they were afraid they were going to get in trouble if they did.
Oh, yeah.
And so it took me half of the show to get them up and to get them going and to, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to get in trouble. We want you to have fun and just enjoy this. And I remember a grandma got up there and she was just killing it. She was just in the front. She was just having a ball. And I got to the autograph part of it after the show, and she came up to me and she said, thank you so much. And I said, thank you.
Yeah.
You were amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
You danced.
You put on a show for us.
You did the show. I was just the second act. I was
just here, yeah.
And she said, I want you to know that today you gave me something for the first time, the same time you gave it to those kids.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
Which really hit me, that in her whole lifetime, something hadn't been done that I didn't feel like should be a first. I felt like that should have been there before. And so, going out, it's kind of the gift and the curse, because you do it for so long, then you get to a point where now you're in movies, and then you're back out on the reservation, and people are like, yo, man, if you're doing all this and you're getting the money, why are you back out here? Did the music industry say you suck as a rap artist, or why can't you go do
what
that?
Happened?
And they don't understand it's a choice. I'm out here because I want to be out here. I'm not out here because I have. I've never been out here because I have to be out here. Before I left Oklahoma, I was offered a record deal at RCA Records, and that's when, NSYNC, people that were Tribe Called Quest, legends now, right? No, I'm not saying NSYNC's a legend. Maybe they are. Don't want to offend any NSYNC fans. The moms are out there going, what did he just say?
They're getting mad at you.
Yeah, they're getting mad mom at me. But it was a really established record label, and they it just didn't work out. I couldn't sell out to do that record deal. And literally that's what caused me to create Red Vinyl Records. And it wasn't red for just no reason. It was red to represent our people. And, I think the only thing at that time was like Def Jam was very much a record label as part of their logo. Delicious Vinyl was another record label in Hollywood. And vinyl was a very big thing in the hip hop world with DJing and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, this is really primarily, maybe it turns into something else later, but it's a hip hop record label. And I took that out on the road and did it for the community and I was just like, look, I'll show you. Because part of what they were saying is like, we don't want you to make anything that is going to be too specific to indigenous people. And I'm like, it kind of killed me because I knew enough about the music business at that time to understand who was buying NWA's records and who was buying Ice Cube's records and who was buying gangster rap. And not that I was doing gangster rap, but I knew who was buying hip hop. And it wasn't the majority of one demographic more than white kids. That's who was buying them. And I'm like, you think that they're not gonna love what I'm doing? You think that they're not gonna love what we're doing on this side? Like they're not gonna see the beauty and the amazing greatness of my culture?
Exactly.
But that's where we were then. That's what people I think don't understand today. And they wanna come into the music business or the movie business and they wanna with broad brushstrokes say, well, we can't have those movies that happened before. We can't have that music that happened before. Not understanding, bro, you weren't even a day old when this was going on. You don't know what that struggle was. You don't know how hard it was to get things done and to demand that respect and what that looked like. And I remember on Indian in the Cupboard, it was absolutely, we have to have the right advisor. And so they thought they were really doing a bang up job. And my character is Onondaga or Onondagega. And they come back with a Mohawk advisor. And I'm like, nah, we can't do it. Well, they're Iroquois, they're Iroquois people. And I'm like, yeah, but before they were together, they were very much apart. And they are their own individual nations. And we should not just say, let's just get one of those and have them kind of instruct us on how to make sure that we do everything right. I said, we gotta go. And they're like, well, we don't know where to go. So I said, fly me out there. And they flew me out there. I stayed with a clan mother. I stayed on the reservation in Nedro at the Onondaga Reservation outside of Syracuse for a week. And through her talking to me and through spending the time with her and staying on the community, we came up with her son and her daughter being the advisors on the film.
Wow.
And I came back to the production company and said, here's who our advisors are. But you would think that we didn't put any work in, and it kind of gets me a little upset sometimes because I know how hard we worked and I know how good people were to have these advisors come in, Jeannie Shenandoah and Tracy Shenandoah. Tracy, who is still to this day one of the spiritual advisors of the people, of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And he was my guy. When I'm singing those songs in the movie, I had a piece in my ear where Tracy was out in the outside the studio, singing in the alley between the studios, these songs that I'm singing with him. Yes, it sounds like to people that I'm singing it by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm totally singing it with him because I can hear him.
Yeah.
And when I would do the dances, he would no, bro, that's not it. It's like this. And so I would do it again. And so I was doing it again. So he made me get it right.
Yes.
And I think sometimes where people get caught up on it is well, it's not really that. It's the story of this magical, mystical, bro, but it was a movie. It was a movie about a fantasy.
Yes.
It's not real.
Chill out.
Hold on,
Calm
chill
down.
out.
It's okay.
Just hold on. And I feel sometimes people miss that, man, that for what we did do, and this world that Little Bear created in this crazy world, that he redid it in the ways that were speaking the truth to him from where he came from. He rebuilt that longhouse with things that he didn't become something different. He didn't start, oh yeah, you got a teepee, I'll live in the teepee. He's like, no, that's not where I live. I live in this. And I think it was a great sort of analogy of like how small sometimes we feel in this world and how unheard we feel and how sometimes loud we have to stand up to get people to hear just the basic stuff.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I felt that was very much an extension of what I was doing in rap, is you're not hearing me. Like maybe if I say it like this, you'll hear me. And I felt like this script was absolutely that. And I feel compelled to be a part of those kinds of stories. And yeah, was it cool to be part of Mortal Kombat? Yeah, like I didn't know of like really any other superheroes at that time that were like on the big screen and it was the most popular video game in the world. Like, yeah, that's probably a cool thing to do. But there's never been a movie I walked in that, I don't know, maybe would they say that this guy's kind of a pain in the ass? I don't think I ever presented myself that way. I just presented myself as concerned about what I'm doing and how it might impact other people, and we should pay attention to that. So even the way that they had me drawn up in Mortal Kombat was very different than how I ended up presenting in the film. And if I would have just said whatever, it would have looked way different. So I think that, hopefully the message is, A, don't take yourself too friggin' seriously because you're today years old. And, two, like do a little work, educate yourself, like learn about the struggle of what other people had, because unfortunately, Russell Means isn't here anymore to tell you himself. Steve Rivas isn't here anymore to tell you himself. A lot of other greats, Floyd Red Crow Westerman, these people, we don't have as many of them anymore that will stand up when things are like happening like that to basically be able to say, this fight that we fought may not be like how you're fighting it now because you have an advantage, but you might have an advantage because of what we did back then. And now it is absolutely your job to take it to the next level. And, no, you're not killing it if you're just directing and if you're just writing. That's great. But the power in Hollywood is in producing. The power in Hollywood is being able to greenlight stuff. Until you can say you're greenlighting your stuff, we still have work to do.
I love that.
Yes, I love that. So you talked a little bit about Red Vinyl.
Yes.
So are you still doing Red Vinyl? Have you signed any new artists?
So, man, I signed so many artists and helped so many people that, and I didn't really ever do it for like, oh, look at me or whatever. I did it to give people an easier path than I had. And sometimes that's not a good thing. The first time I was ever on a tour bus, I took other indigenous people on a tour bus, and I'm sitting here thinking like, man, you know how long it's taken me to get on this tour bus and to tour this way across Indian country? And I swear to God, we didn't even get around the block before somebody was complaining. And I'm like, dude, like, really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it kind of goes back to that, like you appreciate nothing that you haven't worked for.
Exactly.
And when it's too easy, sometimes you don't have the capacity to appreciate it or respect it or understand it. And so I think I had been such a student of the game with Red Vinyl Records and with producing and with being in the studio and I'm kind of a person that when I began to get into making music, I learned how to do all of it because that way nobody could get over on me. And if you don't know how to do it yourself and somebody comes in and tells you, for one, back then it was really expensive every hour. So somebody could be messing with something, doing nothing, just burning time. And I'm like, bro, you know how much it cost me to get this hour of studio time?
Yes.
Like, we better be working in here. And so it would change a lot of things. Now it's like you can mess up unlimitedly and just record it, and it doesn't cost you anything because it's a microphone on your computer.
Yeah.
But when I was in there was tape that cost money that you had to go buy. And then every time you screwed up, they had to rewind the tape, and it took maybe it was a couple of minutes, 3 minutes. But if you screwed up a lot, you could burn a lot of time of your hour just rewinding tape so that you could do it again.
Yes.
And so being prepared before you went in the studio is really important. And I think what it really speaks more to is respecting your craft and being the best at what you're doing. Not, I think this is where sometimes like rappers that have been around for a while will have an opinion about today's rap, because it's less of a, in my opinion, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but I have 3 sons, so there isn't anything new that I haven't heard. And I like a lot of it, but there's some stuff that I'm just like, it's so lazy. It's so lazy, it's like disrespectful to the art form, because you should have more respect in your lyrics. And yeah, but at the same time, you only do what the audience requires, right? And if they don't care, it's just about the beat and it's about the hook, which music sort of has always been about, then they're getting away with what you're letting them get away with. But if you expect more out of it, or for real hip hop heads, or for the people that are really understanding like lyrics and what it is to be an MC and what it is to be a rapper, then you don't want anybody ever saying anything about your lyrics. Like it's got to be single, double, triple meanings in one line that you could read 3 different ways and it all makes sense. That makes sense with the line before, that leads into the line after. And that it all makes sense when you get done with it, that the hook complements everything that you just talked about. And that's what becomes the beauty of it. But that's just what I've been doing my whole life.
Yes.
And so with artists and with other people, yes. Supaman, like signed to Red Vinyl Records when he was...
We've seen Supaman. He came to our school.
Yeah, we did.
You say that almost like, I've seen Batman.
Yes.
He's one of the superheroes.
Is he the one that dresses with the
the regalia?
Yeah, we met him. He's really good.
Yeah, he is. He's took him on tour.
That's amazing.
Paid for him to go to recording school.
Wow.
Bought him a bike to go to recording school and get around in.
Oh my goodness.
And he's the homie, man. He's been around. Yeah, he was on my record, The Life and Times. It was the first time he ever been in the studio and rapped.
Wow.
So yeah, I've never been blind to what you can do to inspire somebody else or to help somebody else. I had regalia that I would dance with in my show, and my regalia was grass dance, but you could peel it off. So I will say maybe, I haven't seen the peel off a Supaman outfit yet, but it's dope what he's doing. He's doing what he's doing in his own way to express himself. And I'm not even sure that you could do what he did with that outfit, what I did with mine. But, everybody influences ain't nothing new under the sun, man. Everybody's getting influenced. There's people that have influenced me, maybe not in that way. But I have been the end result of a lot of musical inspirations. And my sister, rest in peace, was the first for me. And she was an amazing singer, and she kind of got me going and really put me in a position to really find out that music was something powerful that I could tap into. And she saw that in me. And so I still have to give her credit to this day for that. But, no, I don't think we're done. My son is producing now. His name is Quanna Davis. And he works out a lot. If you just look at his Instagram, you'll go, oh, I see what you're saying. But he's modeling too. He tells me what he loves to do is anything creative, whether that's painting, music, modeling, any artistic anything. And he's just an amazing guy. So I think that's kind of the next generation of Red Vinyl. I will say that for me, it's been a very eclectic journey with music. I kind of had to, I finally realized I couldn't do everything. Like I had to put something down to pick something up.
Yes.
And with the work in economic development to try to help now tribal nations and Native American entrepreneurs and Native American businesses and go advocate for sovereignty on Capitol Hill and testify to Congress and advocate at federal agencies, that was a full-time job. And so I really feel like the next coming of me, artistically, creatively, is happening right now in real time. And that's where I really want to kind of wrap up my journey, is doing all those things.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. What would you say are some of the best ways that us tribes can work together to prosper in Indian country?
I would say just to be open-minded and to never forget that it is about all of us, and it doesn't really, it's hard, and I think that this is important that people understand what I mean by this. Yes, is it important that you take care of your people? That's what you're charged with by being a representative on the council, is to make sure your people are okay. But you can't just get so consumed from an economic development point of view that you're just thinking about the money that circulates around your community or around your area or around your state or around your region. You have to be focused on the idea that money spins everywhere. Yes. And the best kind of money you can get is to find some money from someplace else that you have an opportunity that would be money you would never see before. It's like finding animals on a hunt that you're like, man, these things are good. We should bring some of these back and let everybody taste it. And I think sometimes we just get very, very blindsided, or not blindsided, but blinded and very singular about what we're after. And it limits us. And economic development is literally that. It's not economic stagnation, it's economic development. And in order to develop it, you have to go out and find it and constantly be looking for opportunities. Not everyone's going to work, but you have to look at that. And quite honestly, it could be by working together with another nation and pooling your resources and coming together. I mean, if you think just really quickly about like how many things that we use at a casino, well, what if we pooled our buying power for just paper towels? And we then said, no, we're not going to buy just from you this many paper towels. We want you to give us a deal on what would 16 times this much of a buy be. Mm-hmm. What kind of a deal could you give us then? Yeah. And then we figure out how we get those over to each other or make them do it, mm-hmm. But we drive the cost down, because the best way to increase profits is by driving down cost. And it just makes sure that you're paying attention to the bottom line. So we all could do that. But there's so much that we could be doing. And I think for some tribal leaders that I've been in proximity to, it gets very, very frustrating, constantly trying to go back and sort of say, guys, can we just work together? And it gets exasperating. And then pretty soon they just don't even ask anymore. They just don't even bother, because, there's some non-Indigenous person that says, you know what, you need 10, 15, 20 million? Sure, no problem. That's a good deal. I'll do that deal. But yet we can't shove it down anybody's throat being so good, because they're like, no, we don't want to do it. We're good. No, I'm sorry. We don't want to do it. And I think that the last thing I'll say is that we're risk adverse, and you can't really be in business very well if you're totally against any risk. Every business has risk.
Yes.
You mitigate your risk. You try to eliminate your risk. You try to make sure to not enter into deals that have too much risk. But when you find one, then you have to go. And it may work, it may not work. And I think one of the things that probably has spoiled us a little bit, because it's hard to duplicate this business, is casinos. Yeah. It's really hard to find another sort of a casino thing. And you look at what we continue to do. It's other businesses that return cash sort of in the same fashion. Usually they're things that have a little hair on them, right? Cannabis. Tobacco was a huge fight. Can't we figure out some other stuff? Like people make millions and trillions and billions of dollars doing boring other stuff. Let's find some of that stuff. Let's get in those businesses, right? So it doesn't always have to be crazy.
Well, thank you so much for being on our second episode of Small Town.
Well, it's an honor to be the first place runner-up.
The first place runner-up, yes, for now. Small Town Res Girls for now.
Yes, for now, until you move to LA. Yes. And then you're not really small town Res Girls in LA. change the podcast.
So, do you have any last words, or
Last
could you rap a few lines for us?
Well, what kind of a rapper would I be if I didn't do that for you guys? I've come to give my life so my people can rise. You can step on me if it means we all rise. The people first, that's a warrior's point of view. But real warriors are few, and they don't teach that in school. So listen to your elders, absorb their heart, and understand with them, that's where we start. Yeah.
That was so powerful.
That was good.
I have the thing that I'm coming out with next is a lyric book.
Oh, wow.
That really is kind of a journey through Indian country via my lyrics, because everything, people that listen to it may not even understand it, but long story short, I think that's going to have, again, an impact.
Yes,
so that's the kind of things
that's
I'm
amazing.
always
That's
getting
so
into.
amazing.
So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And thank you for digging in the crates to find all this like archive
Shout out to
stuff.
Felicia.
Holy moly, this was like Indian in the cupboard photo
All right. Okay.
from like literally while I was filming it.
Thank you for being on our second episode of Small Town Rose.
For now.
For now.
Small town res girls
For now.
Now.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's an honor.